So many stocks have made incredible comebacks over the past few weeks, but there are still plenty of names that are way down from their highs earlier this year. Take Reddit. That's the popular online message board that's one of the top 10 most visited websites worldwide. While the stock soared 11% today, it's off more than $100 from its February peak of $230 and change. I think it might be a buying opportunity here as long as you steel yourself for a potentially wild ride. It is a wild trader. See, 2 weeks ago, Reddit reported the stunning quarter, but the stock didn't get any credit for it at all. It was in the Rodney Dangerfield zone. It got no respect. These guys delivered a phenomenal top and bottom line beat, 61% revenue growth, far outpacing their 19% increase in expenses. So not only is Reddit growing like crazy, they're also keeping costs down, and that translates into profitability. They earned 13 cents per share. Wall Street was only looking for 2 cents. Imagine 13 cents. They were looking for 2 cents. And this was their third straight quarter of unadjusted profits. Now, despite all the hand-wringing about how a softening economy might hurt the advertising market, Reddit's management sounded very confident about the future. They gave strong guidance for the current quarter, talking about 50% revenue growth at the midpoint, 200% growth for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Wow. Now, you'd think the stock would have taken off on those numbers, right? But despite initially surging 18% in after-hours trading, Reddit stock finished the next session down more than 4%. Why the heck did people sell this stock on such a seemingly strong number? When you look at the excuses the bears came up with, frankly, I think the selling was wrong. Totally absurd. For example, for the first time since its IPO, Reddit's revenue growth decelerated. 61% growth may look great, but that's down from 71% growth in the previous quarter. I said, are you kidding me? Reddit only grew at a 48% clip in the first quarter of 2024. That 61% number, it's phenomenal. What else? While daily and weekly average users both grew 31% year over year in the first quarter, some analysts worry that additional growth might be harder to come by. CEO Steve Huffman, known as Reddit, kind of affectionate as Spez, no accounting for taste there, noted that daily active users through the month of April were, quote, growing in the high teens range year over year, end quote, which suggests that the growth rate is slowing. These are the same fears that sent the stock down from its highs back when they reported an emphatic beat and with strong forward guidance in mid-February. Now, again, I think it's nuts. Most companies would kill for that growth. Management's being cautious with its user forecast. Why? Because Google keeps changing its search algorithm, which is a major driver of traffic for any website, especially Reddit. Some of these changes are subtle, but others are more visible, like the recent introduction of AI-generated summaries that attempt to answer queries directly. And let's face it, sometimes inaccurately. All this is in flux, so it's hard for Reddit to predict how many eyeballs they can attract via search. Now, lots of people are actually skeptical about this Google algo issue, but as someone who started a website, TheStreet.com, back in 1995 and relied on Google for a lot of traffic the whole time, every time we seem to be building up a full head of steam, Google changed its algorithm and crushed us. Oh, I would be furious at Google, but unlike Reddit, there was nothing organic we could replace it with, and I certainly nothing I could do with Google. I am not that worried about the Google hostage issue here because of a variety of draws that Reddit has. Management, for instance, reminded investors that Reddit's still the 6th most searched word on Google. They're just behind the word news and just ahead of the word Trump. Nice bragging rights, don't you think? At least till the president finds out. Now, management acknowledged that, quote, the search ecosystem is under heavy construction, end quote, and that the, quote, near term could be more bumpy than usual, end quote. Okay, that didn't read well. But Reddit explains that these fluctuations are simply a byproduct of their platform's open nature. As management noted, Reddit remains, quote, one of the last major platforms that doesn't require you to sign in to learn something, end quote. It's really one of the few sites that still has that old school internet vibe. I like that. In a world that seems increasingly dominated by fake accounts, AI-generated answers, and clickbait garbage, Reddit stands out as a place where you can get real answers from real people, especially for questions and scenarios that are too niche for traditional search engines, like different illnesses or different hobbies. Now, look, that's why the platform's thriving. But beyond that, Reddit's made huge progress on the business side. In the most recent quarter, their active advertisers grew more than 50% year over year, driven by increased impressions and improved pricing. The company highlighted strong performance across key industries like pharma, as I mentioned. And, people who are sick tend to congregate, want to talk to each other. I don't blame them, right? You want to kind of have that affinity group. Auto, telecom, finance. You want to ask questions? There you go, including, of course, Wall Street bets. This is especially encouraging because after Reddit came public, there were a lot of worries about whether it could monetize its user base effectively. Management noted that roughly 40% of its conversations on Reddit are commercial in nature. underscoring its attractiveness to advertisers. The company also is testing something called dynamic product ads. Early results show that these ads deliver a 90% higher return on ad spend compared to campaigns run last year. Now, that's another sign Reddit's building a more sophisticated, high-performing ad performance. Reddit's also working on multiple product improvements aimed at enhancing the user experience, like improving, frankly, their, I gotta say, not so hot search function, which really kind of bewildering, I find. That can bring in new users while also reducing Reddit's reliance on traffic from Google. The less they need to rely on outside search engines, the less we need to worry about the daily average user numbers being thrown off every time Google changes the darn algorithm. And they don't tell you they're going to change it. But the major initiative here is Reddit Answers, the platform AI-powered search tool, which has already reached 1 million weekly users. It began its global rollout last month, started with Australia and then the UK. Hey, speaking of international expansion, Reddit's aiming to become a truly worldwide platform with the help of its machine translation tool, now available in 13 languages. This international push makes a lot of sense when you consider that international ad revenue grew by an astounding 83% year over year. That's outpacing the 56% growth in the United States. What's even more compelling is the monetization gap. Reddit's average revenue per user internationally is just $1.34 compared to $6.27 in America. We'll talk about some significant room for improvement. Despite coming up on its 20th year anniversary, welcome to the club, Reddit's still in the early stages of monetizing its international user base, so I'm confident they got a lot of room to grow. And don't worry, there's another AI angle to this story. The company has entered into contracts with generative AI outfits like OpenAI, granting them access to Reddit's data API. The API provides real-time structured content from Reddit's vast archive of user-generated discussions. That is an invaluable resource for training large language models that power these high-tech chatbots. Oh, my God, that is just a pot of gold. Management highlighted this in the conference call, noting strong demand for their data among AI companies. Now, this could be potentially a very high margin revenue stream. Some people think it could be the highest. I wouldn't be surprised if these deals keep coming, and as they are announced, this stock will go higher. In the end, there's a lot to like about Reddit, but even with the stock down huge from its February highs, it's still trading at 54 times next year's earnings estimates. Okay, it's not a crazy valuation, given that they're on track to put up 85% earnings growth next year. And remember, with Reddit, we're talking about unadjusted numbers. That's reasonable. The bottom line, while I think Reddit's absolutely worth buying at these levels, even after today's monster move, stocks like these are only worth owning if you can stomach some serious volatility like we're having right now. Keep in mind, we're always one presidential tweet or whatever you want to call it away from these kinds of names falling out of favor all over again. That's why I say Reddit's a buy, but only if you got the intestinal fortitude to stick around for the long haul. Let's take calls. Why don't we start with Tim in Kansas? Tim.
Hey, Jim, how are you this afternoon?
I am real good, Tim. Tell me how you are.
I'm great. Hey, I'm an IT professional and love Supermicro computers. I have 40 or 50 of them that are running, zero failures with them in the last 15 years. So I went and bought the stock when it was super dirt cheap, and it went up to about 120 bucks, and now it's in the dirt again, and should I look at getting rid of it or?
No. To tell you the truth, I mean, this one had some accounting issues. They do seem to be now long enough behind them that analysts are starting to recommend the stock again. It's relatively cheap versus the whole cohort. If you want to consider the cohort to be things like a CoreWeave or, of course, an NVIDIA, and I would tell you. It is more expensive than Dell. I do like Dell more, but I think you could do a lot worse than Supermicro. But let me tell you something. You've got more product knowledge than I do, and I like what you had to say. All right, I think Reddit is worth buying at these levels, but maybe not all at once, okay? Be prepared for some volatility in the stock if you're holding on to it. It's a wild one. Now, much more Mad Money at major drug distributors stocks. They've fallen from their recent all-time highs. I'm breaking down the post-earnings action, and it is very compelling. Then doesn't mean the stocks are compelling. Then I'm analyzing some spec stocks that have caught my attention and outlining my strategy for approaching these riskier names. You probably won't like it because it involves actually making money. And, of course, all your calls rapid fire in tonight's edition of the Lightning Round. So stay with Cramer.
Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @Jim Cramer on X. Have a question? Tweet Cramer. #MadMentions. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.